If you're hosting for the holidays, chances are you're going to be cooking with oil, but what oil you use and how high of heat you cook really matters.
Yeah, so joining us to talk a little bit more about this is 9 News medical expert Dr. Payal Kohli. Dr. Kohli, good morning.
Good morning.
My partner's mom has really taught us all about this. Of course, she just won her battle with breast cancer, and so it's even more important that we're watching what oils we're cooking with. What are some of the concerns whenever it comes to heating oil, and why is that potentially hazardous to our health?
A lot of people don't realize this, but when you heat up oil, you change its chemical structure. And so heating it up, especially past something called the smoke point, can actually create chemical changes, release something called aldehydes and polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons, which are toxic chemicals that cause cancer. They also create free radicals and oxidative damage, which are chemicals that can cause Parkinson's disease and Alzheimer's disease. Not to mention, you change the chemical structure of the oil, you make it more likely to affect your blood vessels, raise your cholesterol, cause cardiovascular disease. So it's not just which oil you use, but how you use it that really affects the health benefits. And sometimes you even get rid of the nutrients when you heat it up too much. So you have to be really careful how you cook in that oil.
All right, so what should we be paying attention to? What oil should we be using?
So what you need to think about when you're deciding which oil to use, obviously, is the type of oil. So we like olive oil and avocado oil. Okay. These are two favorite oils, and I especially like extra virgin olive oil. And the reason is because it has a very good stability when heated up. So stability of the oil is something you should know about. How stable is the oil when you heat it up? Does it start to degrade? And those two oils tend to be more stable as compared to like soybean oil or canola oil. You also want to look at something called smoke point, which is if you pay attention and you're looking at it, it's when it starts to smoke. So if the oil is giving off smoke, you're heating it too high.
Yes.
You're actually causing damage to it. And then you want to be really careful about reusing the oil. That's a big one, because sometimes when we reuse the oil, it can start to create many of those changes. I like to look at the oil and make sure it's not too dark. And you want to also smell it. If it smells rancid, it's time to get rid of it.
You've mentioned a few of them, but let's go back over those. What are the good oils for us to cook in? You mentioned olive.
Yeah, extra virgin olive oil.
Yes.
And so it's got to be a high quality. And the smoke point of that is usually around 400. Now, usual, pan cooking is about 350.
Okay.
So you're usually pretty safe with that. But if you're deep frying, they've even looked at this, even though deep frying goes up above 400 in terms of temperatures, it's a much more stable oil. So extra virgin olive oil is the best oil to deep fry it if that's what you're going to do. And then avocado oil is the other one that I like. If you want a cheaper, less expensive oil, then canola is okay. But just again, pay attention to reusing it and to the deep frying.
What's that?
Tallow.
Tallow.
Yeah,
What
we were
about
talking about tallow earlier.
No.
No? Oh, that surprises us.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, so there's been a lot of controversy about this as well, but that's certainly not one you want to use. You want to try to stick to as many plant-based oils as you can. And like I said, those are the two that have shown in terms of cardiovascular benefits. Tallow oil is linked to significant risk of increased triglycerides, damage to the blood vessels, inflammation inside the blood vessel arteries as well. So if you are going to reuse the oil, the other tip that I would have is don't do it more than once or twice. Don't heat it too high for too long. That's something to pay attention to. Strain it before you reuse it. And then when you're storing it in between uses, make sure you put it in a dark container because it can actually change based on the light exposure as well. So a lot to think about, but try to stick to those higher quality oils. Try not to deep fry as much as you pan fry or saute your fruits and vegetables. And then the least amount of heat for the least amount of time is the best way to consume the oil. So I love when we go to restaurants and they have just the fresh oil with the bread, the dipping oil.
Oh,
That's the best way.
I could eat that for dinner.
I know, so good.
Stop there,
Oh,
yes.
Let's go now. That sounds amazing. Yeah. All right, Dr. Kohli, thank you so much.